Hello, class. So, today, what we are actually going to do is where we are actually going to talk about leadership, what leadership means, and the different talking about the various leadership theories that we have, leadership styles that we have first. Okay, so when we talk of leadership, what does that mean? It is where we're talking of a process of influencing people so that they are actually working willingly and actually also very enthusiastic where the goal achievement is concerned. So, you need someone when you're working there in an organization, you need to be motivated, you need to be enthusiastic, you need to be willing. So, there has to be someone who is up there as a motivator who's influencing you. That's where the leaders come into play. Now, when we talk of leadership, it can occur in formal as well as informal organizations. Now, who's a leader? When we say it can be anyone, a person who is commanding or leading a group, an organization, or a country, and is always holding a superior position, is able to exercise some control or influence others. So, what makes a good leader? First, that we come across is when we talk of vision. We are talking of the vision. So, a leader should be a good visionary, should be able to see the future. Second is honest and integrity. Honest and integrity on where we talk of values, beliefs, ethics. So if you do not have values, beliefs, and no ethics, you cannot be a successful leader. As a leader, you need to be creative as well as innovative. You need to be confident, confident about yourself, confident enough so that others would follow you. That is important. If you are not able to make your own decisions, then you're not sure about yourself, then what happens? Your employees will never have that trust in you, that confidence in you, and they will not start listening to what you have to say. Okay. Decisive. Decisive means to make decisions. Now, when you're making decisions, you also need to take risk in making decisions. Without risk, an organization cannot survive because the environment changes, the business environment is changing. You need to survive in the market, you have to take risk. Now, loyal. When we talk of loyal, see, loyalty is reciprocal. If you are loyal towards your employees, they would be in turn loyal to you. Now, loyalty, when we talk of loyalty, is like we're providing equal benefits to all the members who deserves it, like giving training to all those who deserve and not being partial. Great communication skills. You need to be a good communicator. If you are not able to inform your employees the right time what is happening, if you're not able to motivate them, if you're not able to instruct them, if you're not able to inculcate the discipline, then it's a problem. Courageous. Now, courage is where we talk of courage. Like you cannot achieve your goals where there's no assurance of success. That's usually the normal thing that comes up. But in the business world, what happens is like we do not know whether there's any success or not, and usually we are not going to take that risk. Do a work where we or try to think of a goal where we cannot succeed. But in the business world, what happens as a leader? You need to take risk. Some risk has to be there to achieve your goals, whether you succeed or not. Humility. Humility comes from the word humble. You are, of course, you are good. You are very strong. You can make decisions. You can take risks, but you need to be also humble enough. Strategic planning. A good leader should be very good at planning strategy. Otherwise, without a proper strategy, an organization will fail. Focus. Leaders should be very much focused on what are the needs of the company and also the situation, the scenario. Empathy. Empathy is when you try to understand, when you feel about and sympathize about your employees. Like your employees are having problems, so you should be able to understand their problems and they try to be part of it. Then only can you be a good leader. Okay, so we come to the next part where we're talking of the styles or types of leadership. And some of them, three main types that we have is autocratic, where it's authoritarian, where it's one way communication system, where the leader actually says, do it. It's just an instruction coming up. Second comes up is laissez-faire, where the leader gives you a choice to the employees that you can do either X or Y, whichever you feel is good. And the third type is democratic, where the leader gives complete freedom to the employees, saying what do you think is the best, which is best, X or Y. So you decide it. Okay, we'll go into more details about the styles of leadership. So let's start with the autocratic leadership or authoritarian leadership. This is what happens is where the leaders have complete control over the decisions and do not consult the employees. They make their decisions based on their own ideas and they do not accept advice from their followers. So it says my way or the highway. So I'm not the boss because I'm always right. I'm always right because I'm the boss. So some of the characteristics that we have is, as I said, it's the managers who retain the maximum power and the decision making authority. No input from the employees. The leaders make the decisions. They dictate all the work methods, processes. The employees are not trusted with. The degree of trust is very less where important decisions are concerned. And you have a structured set of rewards and punishments. When we say structured, it is protocol which is already there. It's documented that if you do well, this is your reward. If you do not, this is your punishment. Now, what are the benefits? Or when can we actually implement authoritarian leadership? That is when we need to make a quick decision and you have a huge group of people, so you cannot consult at that time. The time is very precious. Or where the situation is very stressful, there you have to be an autocratic leader. Problem comes up where if you are an autocratic, so what happens? You are very bossy, you are dictator, you're controlling, so which may lead to dissentment amongst the employees. Now, because if you are an autocratic leader, you do not consult your employees, so your employees may not like you. They may dislike because they are not able to contribute to any ideas. And there's absence of any creative solutions to problems because creativity comes when people actually start discussing, coming up with new ideas. Okay, the next comes up is democratic or participative leadership. This is what happens here. Leaders are actually encouraging their employees to be part of decision making. They're informing their employees about everything that affects their work. They're sharing decision making and problem solving responsibilities. It's equally shared. Now, what happens in such a case? Like employees are happy because the bosses are trusting them. So they are also cooperative. They have a high team spirit and high morale. Okay, what are the characteristics here? The employees are able to share their ideas, opinions, even if finally it's the leader who has the final say. But there is a forum for sharing of ideas and opinions, and the members feel very much engaged in the process because they are contributing. Creativity is there and it's also rewarded. If you achieve something, it's being recognized. And what's the benefit up here? Better ideas, more creative solutions to problems come up, employees are more involved and committed to projects, and the productivity level is increasing. What's the drawback that comes up is like if employees do not have the required knowledge or do not have the required expertise, then they have problem in contribution to the decision making process. At times, the leaders can be overly dependent on the expertise and experience of their employees. That can be also a problem. Now, if your leader starts totally depending on what their employees say and agree, depending on the consensus from the employees who do not have proper information, then it can be costly. And also, what happens is sometimes if you start depending on your employees and have a discussion and have to make decisions where the time is a constraint, then what happens? Sometimes we tend to miss some important deadlines. Okay, so when is a democratic leadership most effective? When the leader wants to keep their employees fully informed about any matters that affects them. When the leader wants the employees to share decision making and problem solving duties. When the leader wants to provide opportunities for their employees to develop their personal growth and have a job satisfaction. When the problem is large or complex, which requires a lot of inputs. When changes must be made or problems solved that would affect the employees. And a leader wants to encourage team building and participation. When is democratic leadership not suitable? What situation? When there is the time is a constraint, there's not enough time to get everyone's opinions. When it's always easier and more cost effective for the leader to make the decision. When there's a situation where your leaders cannot afford to make any mistakes. And lastly, this is when the leaders feel threatened by their employees, their position about the position. Okay. The third type is delegative leadership or laissez-faire leadership. That's the hands-off style. So what happens? Leaders allow the employees to make the decisions here. All the authority or power is given to the employees, and who determines the goals, makes decisions, and resolves problems on their own. Now, what happens in this type of leadership? The productivity is the lowest. Okay, so characteristics is there is little or no direction from the bosses. Employees have full freedom, complete freedom to make decisions. The leaders are up there to provide the tools and resources, and that's the only job that they're doing. And group members are expected to solve the problems on their own. Okay, so yes, they give feedback. Leaders do give feedback when the group members or the employees approach them, but only if they ask. When is it effective? When staff only effective if you have highly qualified, skilled, and educated, experienced staff who take pride in their work and would go to any extent to do their successfully complete the job. And it could be where a job where you need outside experts, that specialists and consultants are needed, and where your staff is trustworthy and experienced. It's not uh, applicable in a situation where your members, the employees, lack knowledge, the right kind of knowledge or experience that is required to complete a job, or your employees are not very good at setting their own deadlines, managing their own projects, or solving their own problems. The next type is where we talk of situational approach of leadership. Now, situational approach of leadership was developed by Blanchard and Hershey. So it refers to a situation, it's a type of leadership style where the leader or the manager adjust his style to fit the development level of the followers he's trying to influence. So it's a leader who changes, not the follower. This is a typical model, situational leadership model. Now, we actually go to the different types of situational leadership that we have. The first one that we have is the S1 or directing, which is also called telling. So, what happens in this case? The leader of the organization is the one making the decisions and informing others in the organization about the decision. The leader is very involved and closely supervises people who are working. Now, in this type of leadership, it's a top down approach, and the employees simply do exactly what they are being told. The second type, S2, that is coaching or selling, as we say, leader is still very involved in the day to day activities. The decision still lies with the leader, but input is requested from the employees before decision is implemented. With this style of leadership, employees are still supervised, but it's more of a coaching manner rather than a management manner. And this is very much applicable in situations where you have employees who are inexperienced and there is enough scope for them to learn, to develop their confidence and self esteem. Third type is supporting, or as we say, participating. Now, what happens in this case is that more responsibility is given to the employees. Leader still makes some decision, but the decision ultimately, the decision whether to accept it or not, ultimately lies with the follower. The leader provides some directions about making decisions. They are there, they give their feedback, but it's the employees who makes the final decision. And what happens in this case is where you need to have the right kind of skills. You have to have the right kind of skills, but these are employees, they lack confidence or motivation to achieve them. So that's why the leaders are up there to provide them with the guidance. The last type that we have, the S4, is where we talk of delegating. Now, this is a leadership style where the leader is involved the least amount with the employees. The employees are responsible for choosing the task and the directions that they will take by themselves. Leader is still involved for giving direction or feedback, but it's much lower level than the other types of situational leadership. And so in this type, what happens? The employees know their role and perform it with very little supervision required. Okay, so the benefits of situational leadership, if we say, first is employee development level. So what happens? The leaders here adjust their style according to the behavior of and skill level of the employees. So they're giving more importance to the employees and they adjust themselves. Second comes up is motivation, where they provide support to the employees according to their needs. So, and which helps in providing and creating a motivating environment. Productivity, what happens? If you have a motivating and supporting work environment, that leads to increase in productivity. So the leaders here are up there to build the morale amongst the employees and create such a productive environment. The fourth one is employee retention. Now, if there's high morale and support from the leaders, obviously people are willing to stay in that organization. Okay. Talking of the other styles of leadership, what are the other styles? First comes up is transformational leadership, where the leaders in this case are getting the group members to want to change, to improve, and to be led. This is done through motivation and through appeal. The second type talks of transactional leadership, which promotes compliance agreeability amongst the members through rewards and punishment. Like if you're working really good, you're in, you're being rewarded, but if you create problem, then you're punished. And this type of leadership does not look for a change, but they would prefer to keep things as they are. The third type, we are talking of servant leadership, which is putting the needs of the employees first. Fourth type is charismatic leadership. So this is one of the modern leadership styles in the present world, which it's today's present world is changing world. So where the leader uses all its charms to ensure to get admired by his followers. And leaders show concern for the people. They look after their people's needs, create a comfortable and friendly atmosphere for their employees for their employees so that how has it been done? The leaders listen to the employees, make them feel that they are also a voice in the decision making, let them feel that they are part of the organization. Okay, and the fifth style that we have is quiet leadership. So, in this case, the leader leads by example. They do not tell people what to do, neither do they force people to do things that they're not willing to do. They do not give any, they are not commanding, they do not give any orders, they are not loud. They do what needs to be done, inspiring their followers to do the same. So some of the good leaders that we have is Abraham Lincoln, we know about it, Woodrow Wilson, we know about it, or King George VI, or Rosa Parks. So that's all that we have in today's class. See you in the next class.